that I think kind of quickly can go into maybe a conversation about some of the stuff that I saw you tweeting that maybe kind of initiated the reach out you were talking about, a musicians union. And, do you feel like at this point, such a movement could even be great enough or be powerful enough to force like the streaming industry's hand, because things have become like so saturated and yet also so separate, because literally anybody and their mom could upload a single to Spotify tomorrow. So, I mean, as a result of that, how do you like create a cohesive, I guess, like, coalition, between enough people to really like gain some momentum in that kind of, climate where if, the place where everybody's employed in a way is the streaming service, and you have countless people crossing that picket line every day, like how exactly does it work?
Yeah. I mean,
and not to say that I have the answer either. I don't, and I support those efforts, obviously, but I'm just sort of like thinking as a musician, yourself, it's like, how exactly do you think that thing could prosper?
Totally. No, it's a great question. And just to be clear, like we and the musicians union as well are not calling for a boycott. Yet. And I think another thing that makes even the notion of a boycott tricky is that most artists don't own their masters. The record label does. So even if we did want to pull records 1, 2, and 3 off of Spotify, RCA or whatever the owning group is would say, fuck no, like, we control this. And the labels are very happy with the symbiosis.
The way it's all currently working.
Right. Because the agreements that they made, all backdoor and non-public, and that's one of the things the musicians union is asking for, is to make those dealings transparent, because they aren't. They're kept purposefully obscure. They try to keep as much. I mean, this is part and parcel of the record industry in general, but keeping things as complex as possible, as complicated as possible, and obscuring them in that way, it really benefits them.
No, it's true. I think one of the most disingenuous and confusing things about that whole side of the industry is the labels and streaming services, especially Spotify, are like collectively agreeing to put out this facade that every artist that we work with, no matter what, it's all just a flat rate. We're all just agreeing that, so-and-so artist gets whatever cut of whatever streaming. But when you actually listen to what certain artists are saying they're getting from their songs when they're streaming them, that's very clearly not the case. Some artists are clearly getting better cuts than others, and some artists are clearly getting like the worst fucking cut that you could imagine in terms of like their streaming royalties. And, there's been no explanation as to like what that sliding scale could be and who they're valuing over who and who has leverage to negotiate those numbers and who doesn't.
And I think to your question about what would it take to move the needle, I'm in some ways I'm like the worst spokesman for this stuff, because it's
you're just a man giving your opinion. That's all.
Yeah. But I think it's like massive artists now, or new signings now that have clout and some power on their side, are able to negotiate. Like for a band like us, whose first 3 records still, Eve 6 still gets over 100 million streams a month on Spotify, from which we see like basically nothing, because we don't own those masters, and we weren't in a position to be able to negotiate for something when we signed our record contract that didn't exist yet. So
is that from that position, it sounds like you were just basically grandfathered into a shit deal.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I think what it would take would be for artists who don't have as much skin in the game, maybe, who don't have as much to lose, who are financially comfortable and therefore less interested in maybe causes in general, to get loud about it. We're definitely not in a position now, the union, where we have sufficient power to get things changed. But I'm also not fatalistic about it, because more and more people, I mean, I see it on Twitter. I see it in the way other artists engage with me on the topic. Are sort of, I think, starting to kind of wake up to the fact that these are exploitative practices, that even if people aren't feeling the hurt now, you know, they will. And especially in a fucking pandemic, when you have removed from you basically the only viable source of income from being a musician, which is live shows. That's fucking all we got. And so, and that's like, shows are kind of coming back now, but there's still all this uncertainty in the air. Like, you know, we have a tour that we've started to book for October. But it's like, for a band of our level to book a tour, spend the requisite money on, you know, whatever logistical shit, buses, not plural, but like transportation, you know, hotels, crew, all of that stuff, to then hit the road and have shows get canceled would be like devastating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a total like unraveling of everything.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching this interview clip over on TND Streams. To see the full interview, click on the video link next to my head or down below, or hit up the link to subscribe to the channel or see our Patreon page to support what we do and get some extra bonus monthly content in the process. Anthony Fantano, forever.